Golden Brews podcast. My name is Bishan. Hopefully, you guys have been tuning in. If this is your first time, welcome. We appreciate you. On the other side, my brother, Harry. What's up?
What up, man? What's going on? What are we
Not
at?
much.
Episode 9 now?
Maybe, man. It's been a good couple weeks. I guess month, 2 months. Almost quarter of a year, man. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this year flew by pretty quickly. The holidays have been fun. I feel like Christmas kind of just dragged though this year. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just because all the celebrations, right? And Christmas party. I traveled to New York and just a bunch of things going on. So
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm kind of happy that it's kind of over.
Yeah. It was kind of this. I don't know. It was very busy on my part. With the traveling to the East Coast to see you guys.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a go thing for a while. But it was a lot of fun, definitely, to do that. But for me, the holiday time is best spent at home. Right here in sunny Fresno, California.
Yeah.
There's no better place than home. And growing up here, spending the holidays here is just where it's at. I mean, all I have to really do is be with family, cook some good food, see my extended family, which is a lot of my friends. So it's just a blast. It's a blast being home for the holidays and being fortunate enough to do that. There's a lot of folks that can't do that. So you just definitely got to take that as a blessing for sure.
Yeah, like me. I haven't been home.
Yeah.
It's March. So excited to come back in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So, we do a lot of cooking, you and I, right?
We do.
What did you make for Christmas dinner?
It's funny is I just got off the phone with Lovepreet, and we were talking about Christmas and all that, and I gave him the rundown. So I made a couple different lasagna dishes. I did one beef lasagna. Me and Dad will eat pretty much any type of meat, so red meat's good for us. But for everybody else in the family, they like chicken. So I decided to do a chicken-based lasagna. I made my own meat sauce for both. And then I did a vegetarian pasta. Also, I made garlic bread with a Italian semolina loaf. I made my own garlic butter.
Wow.
It was cool, man. It honestly came out really well.
Nice.
I watch a lot of cooking, videos and shorts and all that stuff. So shout out to YouTube, the YouTube content out there. You guys really helped me out this year. So definitely was awesome, man. So everybody had a good time. Everybody was full, and hearts are full bellies, and we're good, man.
Lots of leftovers, I'm assuming.
Yeah, lots of leftovers, but I'm gonna pass everything out here today, so everybody else, my extended family, my friends, can all enjoy it as well. How about yourselves? What about you and Bobby? What'd you guys do?
We didn't do much, man. For the first time, I don't know. I think we're just tired with the kid, right?
Sure.
So it's been a long month, and we made a cheese board, right? So that was cool. Chopped up some cheese, right? That was nice. But nothing much this year. I might cook something good tonight. I'm still in between on what dish I want to do. Maybe we'll do Chinese, or maybe we'll do something else. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it's we're coming up on the end of the year, and I think this will be possibly our last podcast until 2025.
Yeah. We'll see what next week brings. Just depending on, what kind of time we have. But we'll see. But I mean, all in all, it was I had a phenomenal year, man.
Yeah.
I had, I met a lot of great people. Cultivated a lot of good relationships, and it was a really fun year. Kind of sad to see the end of this year, but happy to start anew. and as great as this year was, really looking forward to next year. Just hopefully, just the years get better and better.
Yeah.
In my hope.
Yeah.
So, how about yourself? What was your? I mean, this probably was the best year on record. I'm guessing for you.
Yeah, no, it was a good year. Finally, first time becoming a father, which is
Yeah,
new, right? It's new territory. It's been great learning experience, right? Really enjoying the process, and
yeah,
now getting to do things that I used to do maybe as a kid, right? And seeing
sure.
it through his lens, right? His
Yeah,
eyes. It's pretty cool. Getting excited about doing all kinds of things in the future as well. So 2025 should be special.
yeah,
We got a lot of good things planned. But 2024 isn't over yet. We
yeah.
got some big things happening in the sports world.
Oh, sure.
Um, I think one of the first things we should discuss is the college playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of things happening. Let me go ahead and share my screen so we can take a look at what exactly is happening in college football here
Let's do it.
soon. All right. So, we got a few matchups here. We have Texas versus Arizona State. That's the 4 and 5. We have Ohio State versus Oregon, 1 and 8. That's going to be a doozy. We have Boise State versus Penn State, 3 and 6. And then we have Georgia and Notre Dame, 2 and 7.
Yeah.
Which one of these matchups, Bishan, right now, are you most excited to see?
So I just want to address this really quickly here. The college football playoff, this is the first time they went to this format. Every single one of the quarterfinal games almost looks like it could be an upset with in relation to the seeding. Let's just take, for instance, Texas, Arizona State. Texas is a far superior team than Arizona State, in my estimation. So that could be flip flopped regardless. Ohio State, for the majority of the year, was in the discussion for the number one seed. So they can definitely take care of business when it comes to Oregon. Penn State, I mean, Boise State's not a SEC team or a Big 12 team or any of those. So, it's going to be really difficult for Boise State to come out on top on that one. And then Notre Dame. Notre Dame has one blemish on their record. That was early on in the year, but man, they've been rolling. So every single one of these games, in my opinion, is going to be an upset when it comes to the numbers.
Yeah. Back to what I said, though, and what I asked was, which one of these games, if you had to pick one, which one are you most excited to watch?
If I had to choose one, I mean, I think Oregon, Ohio State is going to be a very, very good game. Man, this is tough. You know what? I'm gonna go with the Penn State Boise State game because it's going to be on. I think it's going to be a really good game. Boise State, is in the Mountain West, similar to Fresno State. So I've seen them quite a bit. I think that game is going to be the most high scoring. So I think that's the one I'm going to go with.
Yeah. I'm excited to see two players from that game. That's Ashton, and hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. Ashton Ginty and Abdul Carter. Ginty's he should have probably won the Heisman, arguably, this year, right? The running back from Boise.
Sure.
And then you got Abdul Carter, who's the defensive end from Penn State. This guy is going to be a top 10 pick.
Oh, yeah.
He is a stud. Really excited to see both players play. I don't know if it's going to be high scoring. Boise State, like you said, is not from one of these premier conferences. Do you honestly believe that they have the talent to go up against one of these juggernauts like Penn State?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The last time they were at the Fiesta Bowl, Zabransky led them to a Fiesta Bowl championship against a great Oklahoma team that had Adrian Peterson on it. They won in overtime with the Statue of Liberty play, and their coach, Chris Peterson, boom, boom, 1-2, done, walked off the field. And that was great. That was the last game he coached for them. He went on to coach the Washington Huskies. He's still part of that program. But, man, Boise State, like, man, it's kind of giving me these little chills right now because I remember watching that game as a kid. It's the last time they were at a game of this magnitude.
Yeah.
It's a really good program. It is a really good program. They deserve to be there. I'm excited to watch them go and shell out because, Boise's a place up in the West where not many people really know about it. It's a smaller town, working town. So for a city like that to have a college like that and a football team like that to be put on the national stage is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that blue tundra is scary stuff.
The Smurf turf is what they call it, actually.
Smurf turf, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. A team from Idaho, being this successful.
Crazy.
I mean, we've seen them do that against Fresno State growing up, right? Every year they're always playing really well. They attract talent, right? Probably not as good talent as some of these other teams, right? That are in the playoff, but they're here, right? So let's see what they got. I think it's going to be a fun watch for sure.
Glad they got the recognition they deserve. They definitely deserve to be here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Can the 8th seed Ohio State Buckeyes upset the Oregon Ducks?
Man, if they play like they did all year, other than the game that they lost to it with Michigan, definitely, I think they can hold their own against Oregon. But Oregon is a wire to wire number one. They started the year, I think, like fourth or fifth, I think. But once they got up to that number one spot, they never gave it up. Yeah. So Oregon has a phenomenal program. They are the number one seed for a reason. They had a bye week, so they didn't have to play. On the other hand, Ohio State did have to go and shellac Tennessee, which they did handedly. So Oregon's coming off a week of rest and prep. So, and I'm pretty sure Oregon was prepping for Ohio State too. I'm pretty sure they probably overlooked Tennessee in this. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. But I think Oregon still can get this one done.
Who's advancing?
All the matchups?
Yeah. Call it right.
So the first game that we have, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, I'm going to go with Texas.
Okay.
In the Rose Bowl, I think Oregon gets it done. I mean, Ohio State, that's going to be a close game, though, regardless. It's going to be a close game. I don't know how high scoring it'll be, but it'll be a close matchup. Penn State Boise, nostalgia plays a part for me here. I'm going to go with Boise in this one. I just don't think Penn State can win the big game. James Franklin, their coach, he's a great coach. He's done phenomenal things for that program since Joe Paul left. But he just can't win the big one, and I don't see him doing it this time. Notre Dame, Georgia. This is interesting. Georgia lost their starting quarterback back, so he's not playing in this. He's having surgery, so he's going to be out the next couple months, I think. So because of that reason, I think Notre Dame is going to get this done for sure. So Texas, Oregon, Boise, Notre Dame.
Nice.
Let's get it.
Isn't Beck considered a top pick this year in the draft?
He is. I believe. I think he's a top 2, maybe 3 quarterback prospect this year coming out. Yeah.
What's the injury?
I want to say it was his elbow.
Okay.
I want to
That's
say it was
never a good thing.
elbow. He
Throwing
got
elbow?
uh, it may have been his non-throwing elbow because there was a chance for him to get into this game. So that's my guess. But I'll be honest, I don't think I really followed up with that one too
Okay.
much. All I do know is that he's not playing and he's out for the next few months.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. So, yesterday was a very unique sports day. So we had NBA games, which we always have every year, right? We had
Yeah.
Spurs and Knicks, we had the Timberwolves and Mavericks, 76ers and Celtics, Lakers and
Yeah.
Warriors, Nuggets and Suns. For the first time, we also had NFL games on Netflix.
Yeah.
Which we, some of us thought there were going to be another buffering issue after seeing the Paul and Tyson fight, right? But it was okay. Hell of a halftime show, by the way, by Beyonce. I really enjoyed that. I did not expect that good of a halftime show. So really good stuff.
The Beehive will be proud of you for saying that.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of Beyonce, but I mean, it was really good stuff. Like I was impressed. Netflix knows how to put on a show. I hope they do more games, to be honest. So since we've had this for the first time ever, NBA games and NFL games on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, out of the two, what did you end up watching more?
To be quite honest, I still was more towards the NBA because, I mean, the cool thing was, early on in the morning, the Chiefs game when it was on, you turn on Netflix and Netflix turns on within like 2 seconds. You don't have to wait for it to buffer or anything like that. And so the access to that game was just immediate, which I just was kind of, taken aback a little bit. But that was pretty cool. But like you mentioned, growing up forever, it's been the NBA for us, right?
Yep.
And, your club, they played, mine did too. Yours played like trash, great. Mine, did great. They actually won.
It was
shout
impressive, but the Warriors are reeling. Okay,
Shout out Lake Show. Shout out Lake Show.
Warriors are reeling right now, right? So they're not. They've lost, I don't know, like 12 of their last 15 or something crazy, some crazy number. They're not doing well. Good win on the Lakers, though. I'm not, give them credit where they, they deserve it. But my point is the NFL going to be taking viewers away? Because I think they are. I'm still waiting for the stats to come in here, but
of course. I mean, the NFL is it's a 20-week soap opera, right?
Mm-hmm.
That like everybody just tunes in to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So, and because you only have that one game a week for your team, you're locked in, right?
Yeah.
The NBA, for any which week, you can have 2 to 3 games for your team, right? So the product for the NBA is far more diluted than the NFL is. So if you put a game on Christmas, everybody's off on Christmas. What chances are, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? You're going to watch that. And with fantasy implications and all of that good stuff, those games get, tuned into by anybody and everybody. Even if you hated the Kansas City Chiefs, but you had, Mahomes or Kelsey on your team, you were watching that game, right? So there's a bunch of different factors when it comes down to it, the NFL is a far bigger juggernaut than any other sport. I think right now in the good old US of A.
Yeah. LeBron said something really interesting right after the Laker game. They asked him about the NFL, and he made a statement and said, "I love the NFL, but Christmas is our day." Is that a direct threat to the NFL and Roger Goodell?
Maybe. I think maybe he's just trying to play it to, it's a drama at the end of the day, bud. Like you got to understand that, right? Like these guys are going to take shots at one another, but LeBron James is the face of the NBA, for the lack of a better phrase right now. Like we still know that, right? Yes, the guy's he's on his last few years, if
Okay.
that. But what he says carries weight,
Yeah.
right? And if he backs down, and the whole NBA backs down, yeah, they're going to lose viewership. But if he stands up straight and he says, "No, not today, not today," right? You're going to listen. You're going to be like, "Damn, yeah, you're right."
I mean, personally, I think LeBron is yesterday's news. He's definitely, I would still consider him a spokesman for the NBA. But the NBA, the NFL can do what they want at this point. They are the league that the rest of the United States and other countries watch now. The NBA is taking a backseat to this. No matter what, from September all the way to February, we're watching the NFL, period.
That's it.
And then after that, then the NBA takes over. We got the playoffs a couple months after that. I think that right after April. But Christmas Day now belongs to the NFL.
I think that's premature. I think it's premature. You got to give it a couple more years. Yes, there's definitely some weight to what you're saying, but things don't happen overnight, especially like this. So, and then you got to look at the games too, the matchups. I believe there was only 2 games yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
And then the NBA had 5. NBA started in the beginning of the day and they ended in the wee hours of the night, right? So there's a difference there. Once the NFL goes to a 4-game slot, where they start the first game at a certain time and they take that last game too, then that's going to change because the viewership's going to be split.
Yeah.
So right now, for the time being, it's still the NBA's day to lose, but the NFL is coming.
They are.
They
some things I've been hearing about the Warriors is they are in the market right now for a star.
Okay.
They want to bring someone in for Steph Curry's final hurrah. Right. Okay. So who out there right now do you see coming in that can potentially come in and join Steph, join Draymond for one last push for a championship?
Yeah. There's a lot of names out there that, people have been pushing. One of the most disgruntled guys in the NBA is going to be Jimmy Butler, right? With the Miami Heat. The guy just hates. Jimmy Butler's.
He's a nomad. He's a nomad.
He's like a guy that, nomad is a perfect analogy. But he's just one of those guys, he spends 2-3 years somewhere and then or 4, and he's just like, you know what, I'm out. I'm good. And there's been guys like this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it almost seems Kyrie Irving was like this, right? But I think he's playing well. He's kind of found his place now. But Jimmy Butler's one of those guys, but I don't know if that's a team they would want something like that. The Warriors,
Yeah.
So I heard Jimmy Butler possibly to the Suns because they don't really have that personality of that stopper guy, the guy that stands up for his guys, so that's what I've heard as a possibility. The coolest trade, I think the one that I would love to see is just going to be LeBron James to the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
I think if that trade happened, man, I don't even know how many NBA fans you would create, because if you go to any part of the world right now and you asked anybody off the street, do you know who LeBron James is? Do you know who Stephen Curry is? I guarantee you they know one of those names, if not both.
Yeah.
And you put both of those 2 guys together, right, on one club team. I mean, it would just be bonkers, man. And you're a Celtics fan, I know that, and they're defending champions, but even you would see that and say, "Wow, that's pretty cool." Like,
you don't put words into my mouth, but I probably, don't. I mean, LeBron's in his twilight now, right? He's not having that good of a year. It's been mediocre at best. We're starting to see the decline. I think personally, the Warriors want a shot at getting back. They have to go back to some familiarity. They lost Klay Thompson. That was big. That was emotional.
For
To
sure.
get back and get grounded again, you go trade Kevin Durant. You bring him back home. And he is a game changer. He knows how to play with Draymond. He knows how to play with Steph. He is the type of player that could come in, play both sides of the ball, offense and defense, can change everything, can give you another scorer when Steph isn't on. And now with Klay gone, I think you're going to have more balance to that offense because it's not going to be as demanding. Because when they were all together, I could see that clash of egos, not getting enough shots, right? Now it'll be different. I think if you're going to go after someone, you want to go with something familiar. You want to go with something that works. You want to go with Kevin Durant.
It's interesting. And I wonder if, the trade that I proposed or that's been proposed earlier too about the Suns and the Heat, I wonder if they were able to do a three-team deal, including all three of those teams, those superstars, and, some guys from the Warriors, maybe like Andrew Wiggins, and then the other cat that they have that
Bradley Beal.
No, not from the Suns, but
okay.
from the Warriors. They have the younger guy.
Oh yeah.
Geez, I'm forgetting his name.
Like on his name too.
But yeah, so it's a possibility. I wonder. And depending on what kind of picks.
It's Jonathan Kuminga. Yeah, he's been in a lot of. They've been trying not to trade him, but I think at this point, if you want
if you're able to bring someone in like Kevin Durant, and I think the Heat are always on the great at picking up guys and turning them into phenomenal players. So
Kevin Durant's 36 right now, right? I mean, you can probably get him. I don't know what his contract looks like, but
he's still got a max deal. He's got a max deal.
He signed a 4-year deal. Exactly in 2024. I mean, he's still under contract for a couple. I mean, was it 2 years? Okay, so it ends at 25, 26. Yeah, so you're bringing him in next year. Contract expires, right? You can go this season, next season, and then everyone just goes, retires maybe, right? That's it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think it'll be interesting. This trade deadline is coming up, I think shortly after the All-Star break. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. Okay. A couple things also have been happening a lot of, we've seen these referees in the NBA that are being a little too, I guess, egotistical or, I don't know. There's like personal feelings hurt, or I don't know what's going on here, but Jalen Brown did something very interesting. I'm going to share my screen so we can take a look what exactly that was. But Jalen Brown is a very, very passionate player. And, well, sometimes I guess passion gets the better of him. But let's take a look. So.
Too many opportunities to attack the ref, and that was the most emphatic. Not happy about that.
Now, let me ask you, is that worthy of a $25,000 fine?
That's the NBA's policy, man. I mean, who are we to discuss, their, I guess, I mean, personally, I think, there's far worse things happening, but yeah, I'd say so, because that's something that you don't want, kids to see. You don't want the younger audience that's, coming up in the world, because there's just no sportsmanship in that, in my opinion. Yeah, you did what you wanted to do. You're a warrior out there, but doing something like that, I don't think there's a place in the NBA for it.
No, man, I disagree. I mean, I think it's soft. I think the NBA is soft. Everyone's just canceling everything these days, right? And nobody nobody has any, for lack of a better word, balls anymore, right? And I don't know what it is, but I dislike it. Anthony Edwards dislikes it. So let's take a look at what Anthony Edwards had to say after his game, where he got a $75,000 fine.
Fucking terrible. Yeah, all of them. Besides the woman. The other two dudes, terrible. Excuses, the reason they call a foul, the reason they don't call a foul, the shit was terrible. They don't want to talk back to my coach. They don't want to talk back to me. I said one thing to the ref. He gave me a text. Motherfucker told one of my teammates, if I would have said y'all calling the bad foul, he wouldn't have gave me a text. Niggas, they just sensitive and they terrible. They never give us the they penalize me and Drew for being stronger than our opponent every night. Don't get no calls. So yeah, that's how I feel about the officials every game that we play.
The frustration of that carry over, like in the game,
No.
just not let it.
No, I don't care. I mean, it's just hard to everybody keeps saying play through it. It's easy to say that when you're not dealing with it. So that's what's frustrating.
So you think that's a thing that's been consistent all year, not just tonight?
Hell yeah, it's been consistent all year, but tonight was bad. They was getting ticky-tack fouls and we weren't getting nothing. So that's just how I feel about the officials. The two dudes, not the woman. Yeah.
Do you feel like frustration has that impacted the way you attack? Like I know they are often guys, like sending extra help and stuff. It does seem like sometimes you're not going as much as you otherwise would.
Yeah, and that's why. Shit, because I get penalized for being stronger than my opponent. So they get them the benefit of the doubt. I get the same. They bump me the same way they bump everybody else, and I never get the call. So I don't know what got to go down, but something got to happen because that shit's terrible.
Oh man,
that was jokes, man. That was good.
He's right though. These refs are sensitive, right? I mean, Jalen Brown was just getting threatened by one of the refs that he'd get a technical foul if he said anything else, right?
Yeah.
That's not how the NBA should be, and I think that's one of the reasons why they're losing viewers is because it's a soft ass league, and that's unfortunate. But that's what it is. And the NFL is pure violence, and that's what we like. Look at the UFC. I feel like the UFC is now taking over boxing, really, right? Because you get to see combat sports in a way that you've never seen before, right? It's not just just swinging hands. Now it's ground and pound, right? Like you get a guy on the floor, you're just pounding him till his lights are out. Humans love this. Humans love violence, and NBA is just not that anymore. Well, back in the 90s and the 2000s, it was. I mean, even before that, if we go back to when the Jordan rules were created, right, by the Detroit Pistons, right? I mean, that was the glory days of the NBA, in my opinion. Now it's like, if the NBA wants to get back to that and they want to get viewers, they have to let these guys play. That's all I'll say.
I mean, the same thing could be said about the NFL. I mean, you look at the NFL game now, you see people don't even want to touch Patrick Mahomes.
Oh man, I think you're gonna talk about the Chiefs, dude.
Like, dude, they feel like, honestly, it's so like Victor Wembanyama now for the Spurs feels like he's Patrick Mahomes from the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Did you see this week? Embiid got 2 technicals, got kicked out of a game. Then and Andre Drummond didn't even touch the guy. Yeah. The guy went 20 feet flying in the air, and they ejected Andre Drummond, and then they reviewed the tape, and they're like, okay, we'll bring him back. Let's reinstate him. Like, it was ridiculous, man. So, yeah, definitely I get that, but I think it's more of an officials thing. The officials have it in their heads that they want to control these games. They want to make a name for themselves. And this is what's hurting sports, is a lot of these, officials, sideline, the referees, officials, umpires, because they're trying to make it almost bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
And they're hurting these sports. They're hurting these teams, these games. And, there's calls out there that change, careers.
Absolutely.
So, this really needs to be handled at the highest level by the commissioners. The commissioners need to stop fining the players for speaking their minds, because the players are right. The commissioners need to step in and say, hey, you're on notice.
Yeah. I mean, the players are your product. The referees aren't your product.
Exactly. And if you're doing these to these guys, you're kicking them out of the game. They're getting fined. They're getting suspended. You're taking food off of their family's table. Of course they're going to be pissed off. Of course they're going to come after you like that. I mean, if the roles were reversed, you'd be doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see what happens with the NBA. This is something that needs to change. Maybe the Players Association needs to say something, speak up. Let's see what happens. These fines are ridiculous, in my opinion. I hope they're fighting them. So, okay, let's shift over to the NFL. A lot of big storylines coming out. We clearly had 2 games that wrapped up yesterday, right? We talked about the 2 Netflix games, kind of, sort of. Chiefs win again. They beat the Steelers pretty confidently, I'd say. I think it was one of their better wins this year.
Yeah.
It wasn't really close. Russell Wilson played pretty horrible game. It sucks if you're a Steelers fan, because you have to see that as your quarterback, and you got to think like, hey, this guy has to go up against Lamar, who he didn't beat the week before. He has to go up against Josh Allen, who, yes, they won before, but did they beat Josh Allen? I'm not sure, actually. I
don't believe so.
Yeah, okay. Well, whatever. I mean, think about it. You got to go against Josh Allen. You have to go against Lamar Jackson, and you got to go against Patrick Mahomes, who you couldn't beat yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I'm not confident if I'm a Steelers fan. What do you have to say? What are your thoughts after that game?
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers played at home, and they didn't give their fans or even the team what they needed.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest with you, growing up, we saw some of the greatest Steeler teams, a year in and a year out. This team isn't one of them. They have a good record, but they're like towards the end of the year, they've just been kind of falling off.
Yeah.
This was a really big chance for them to make a statement win against the Chiefs. What this also would have done is force the Chiefs to play their starters next week. Because of them losing, they've allowed the Chiefs to not only have this upcoming week off and have the bye week. So they're going to have 2 weeks, almost 3 pretty much, because they played on Wednesday, right? Off.
Yeah.
And that's unbelievable. That's literally, you're handing them, you're just giving them more and more power, more ammunition.
Yep.
To get their guys healthy. This time of year, any days off you could get are good for your body.
Yeah.
So the Steelers did a disservice to their fans. They didn't come out and play Steeler football. I was pretty disappointed in them. But, the Chiefs are who we thought they were, They did what they had to do. They've won really ugly this year, but they won.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, it's crazy. Just think, if they had just beat the Bills, they would be undefeated right now. That is insane.
Well, what about if Jimmy G had connected with Sanders in the Super Bowl in Miami, and Patrick Mahomes never won his first championship? The 49ers had won that one. Imagine what things could have changed, right? It's one play. It's one foot. It's just, it's crazy.
The last Super Bowl with the 49ers, in overtime, Purdy, if they block Chris Jones, right? Purdy connects with either Brandon Ayuk, who's wide open in the end zone, or he connects with Juwan Jennings, who beat his guy off the line. They score a touchdown, right? They go possibly win that game. Maybe Dre Greenlaw doesn't get. Anyways, we can talk about the 49ers. And
everything just seems like it's so perfectly aligned for Kansas City.
Yeah, every year. It's ridiculous.
It's like they just have opened the heavens, and just walked through, It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited that you mentioned the Chiefs and them being so, perfect, so to speak. They're getting some help, right? So let's talk about that help. Let's look at that help. This skit went viral. I don't know if you got a chance to see this, but
Bondoruski. Get the fuck off him! Unsportsmanlike conduct and roughing the passer on the defense. 68-yard penalty. First down, Mahomes. I mean, jeez, goddamn. Hey, Patrick, I got you. Oh, again? Wide 80! Wide 80! Hot. Come on, Tim, come on! Gotta do my thing, my wife's gonna be pissed! Tim, if I don't score a touchdown, Taylor's not gonna give me tickets! Okay. Yeah!
Hey, Timmy, the game's getting a little close. You think you could do your thing?
I got it. Pump him up, pump him up.
You see, and that's just Patrick Mahomes drawing the flag, and that's really what we see out of Patrick Mahomes.
Oh man, that was so good.
Oh, those guys, that was awesome. Oh man,
Yeah,
I hope they put some more content out. Those guys did phenomenal, man.
That was so good. Bengals and Bourbon.
Fumble Ruski.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the Chiefs are definitely getting help. They've been getting help from the left refs for so many years. Like, this isn't like something new. I mean, every team seems to be experiencing more and more. Goodell needs to do something here, right? This is getting to be unfair in a way, right? So, I mean, let's see what happens. I know they love Taylor Swift, right? But, you know, you can get only so many Swifties to watch football games.
Do you think the Swifties watch the football games? Or do you think they're just looking out for Taylor Swift?
Good question. I don't know. I don't really care to answer that, to be honest. Okay, the other game was the Ravens at Texans. The Ravens clearly dominated this game. Did you learn anything from this victory about the Ravens?
I learned that about the Ravens?
Yeah, both teams. Yeah, Texans are right. Yeah, go ahead.
Man, I think that Lamar Jackson is he's neck and neck right now with Josh Allen as the best quarterbacks in the AFC over there. I don't think Patrick Mahomes has he's not having the year that those two guys are having. That's for sure. Granted.
Yeah.
But man, Derrick Henry just shelling out. That guy's a man beast, man. Like that guy's a man amongst boys sometimes. Just crazy. And the Ravens, they're getting it done right now. They're on their way to did they clinch the division by chance? Do you know?
Not yet.
Okay.
I don't believe they clinched just yet.
So yeah, they're well on their way. I thought they clinched because Steelers lost. I want to say they clinched.
Can't wait for the Bills. Let me look. Let's have a look. AFC North.
Yeah, they're let's see the standings.
Looks like they haven't clinched yet. I think some things still need to happen before they do.
Oh yeah, there's only a 1-game separation between the two clubs. Okay, but they're tied in their division. So this is an interesting week actually. So the Steelers still potentially could take that seed from the Baltimore Ravens if the Ravens lose this week, which is pretty wild. That's pretty cool. I'm interested to watch what happens this week then. But the Ravens played a great game. The Texans, oh God, they played like shit.
Yeah, I mean there are lots of injuries there. Lots of injuries, right? So
granted, but that's every team in the NFL, that has injuries. I mean, there's teams out there playing with guys that were bagging groceries last week. You know what I mean? So it stinks, but the one thing that I took away from this is not everybody's job is safe. So I don't want this. I'm not trying to put this in the ether, but DeMeco Ryans, I would be weary because
interesting.
The last couple weeks, your team hasn't been performing. Yes, you lost an emotional one last week, and losing Tank Dell, but you can't let that one injury sideline your whole team another week. So, granted, it was a short week, but on the national stage, they got shellacked. And it was one of the worst worst performances I've seen out of any team this year. And look, we have teams out there that barely won a handful of games or less than Carolina Panthers being one of them, Chicago Bears, and the good old Las Vegas Raiders. So that was bad. They're a division winner, and for them to win the division and play as poorly as they have, oh man, that kind of just says the AFC South is trash, to be honest.
Yeah.
If that's your division winner right there.
I mean, it kind of is, to be honest. CJ Stroud clearly has regressed this year, hit that sophomore slump, right?
Yeah.
So I don't like how the critics aren't coming after him like they're coming after Purdy, right? I think that's a bit unfair. They're both, not having the best years, but Purdy's had more success in the NFL, but he gets dragged down more than CJ Stroud.
You want to know something interesting? At the beginning of this year, I was watching an interview that CJ Stroud had done, and he was actually asked about Purdy, or somebody mentioned something about Purdy, how he can't get it done, he's undersized, this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
and CJ Stroud actually came to bat for him.
He did.
He actually, he stood up for Brock Purdy. I don't know if they've ever met one another or even anything of that matter. But CJ Stroud he's a really good quarterback. Had a great college career. Yes, the last few weeks, and this year he's had a sophomore slump. That's for sure. But he's got a lot more years ahead of him than are behind him, in my opinion. So I'm interested to watch what the rest of his career looks like. Yes, this year isn't that great for him. But the same could be said about Brock Purdy, right? Brock Purdy had a really great year last year, was even in talks for the MVP at one point. But he had a bad year as well. So they can't all be great ones. Growing up, we got to see guys that just had great years year in and year out. You had Brett Favre, Tom Brady's, Peyton Manning, and Steve Young, Joe Montana, just guys that every year you already knew like they're going to be up there, right?
Right.
So it's a different league, every year something's changing. I mean, just take the divisions, for instance, right now. You look at the NFC North. The NFC North has 3 teams with 11 plus wins. I mean, that's phenomenal. There's, you have another division over there in the AFC West. There's 3 teams with 9 plus wins. I mean, that's crazy. So it's just an insane year. The top teams are still, about there, but there's the turnover that happens year in and year out. Who would have thought, man? Who would have thought Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers would all be separated?
Let's look at the rankings now.
2 games.
Okay, so these rankings were posted earlier this week. So we have Kansas City, who's now 15-1, right? Because they did win.
Yeah.
So and then we have Detroit Lions as 2, Philadelphia Eagles. They dropped a game. Buffalo Bills are there. Minnesota Vikings, Baltimore Ravens, Green Bay Packers, Pittsburgh Steelers, Washington Commanders, and then we'll stop at the Houston Texans. So we'll just look at the top 10. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The Eagles now are number 3. Jalen Hurts had an injury. He got a concussion. Was out.
Okay.
Commanders went and won that game.
Yeah.
Are the Philadelphia Eagles concerned? Should they be concerned now with Jalen Hurts' health? And could this potentially happen again later on?
Of course, concussions are they're very prone. I mean, if you have one, I mean, just look at Tua, for example, right? He had, I think, 2 or 3 concussions in a matter of like 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
So once you have one of those things, the best thing you can do is just rest and get away from football.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely cause for concern there. You don't know what's going to happen. He could take a blindside hit from a guy, and get driven into the ground. He could be running up the middle, giving himself up and taking a hit to the head. Anything could happen. So, hockey is one of the sports that is very concussion prone. There's a lot of guys that get concussions in hockey as well. And because it's such a violent sport, similar to football, a lot of these guys, the traumas that they have, it keeps them out weeks.
Yeah.
So,
I think the Eagles, they need to get healthy. They need to make sure they have Jalen Hurts in the playoffs.
Mason Rudolph can't get it done. There's no way. That's why
Mason Rudolph. He's not the backup for the Eagles. It's Pickett. Kenny Pickett.
Sorry. Yeah. Kenny Pickett. I'm sorry. Yeah, I forget. They were both on the same team with the Steelers. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Kenny Pickett, small hands Kenny. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think he can get it done. I mean, hopefully they don't have to go through that. But looking at their record right now, they're still vying for that number 1 seed. Man, this is going to be a toughie.
Okay, so we got Kansas City and Detroit, right? Clearly on top of each conference at this point, most likely going to lock up the conferences. Now, which team do the Chiefs not want to see?
If you asked their head coach, he would say, "We don't care."
I'm asking you. I'm not asking the head coach. Andy Reid's not here.
Detroit, man.
No, I'm asking you in the conference. Sorry. Which team out of the conference do the Kansas City Chiefs not want to see?
Oh, in their conference. Okay. Buffalo Bills, man. Buffalo Bills have the ability to play in cold weather. Kansas City, Arrowhead is in a place that's prone to inclement weather this time of year. So Buffalo would be the team that's the obvious choice. It doesn't matter who it is. It's going to have to be somebody that has a great defense and a good quarterback.
Yeah.
So, and then you look at the top right now, you got the Buffalo Bills as well as the Baltimore Ravens, who have both of those two things that I just mentioned. Houston, they're out. No way. Pittsburgh, they're going to make the playoffs, but there's no way that they could beat Kansas City. There is, however, a possibility of one of the divisional teams in the AFC West getting in. And I would not be surprised if one of those AFC West divisional teams could go into Arrowhead and win, because beating a team 3 times in a year is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And those teams know Kansas City better than anybody else in the league.
Yeah. Excuse me. I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm sorry. I'm messing this one up. But I think you got it right the first time when you said you need a quarterback, you need a defense to beat Kansas City. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson are probably the only two that can go in and do it. Josh Allen, I would lean more towards because he did it already this year.
Yeah.
Now, the Detroit Lions, who do you not want to see come to Ford Field?
This is interesting. Man, if you give me a Jalen Hurts Philadelphia Eagle team, that's who I'm definitely going with. But there's a couple of teams out there right now that could do something special coming up from behind, like not being a top tier seed.
Yeah.
So like being a wild card team. So one of them is going to be the Los Angeles Rams. They played against Detroit earlier this year and, played a really good game. And they're dangerous with those two receivers that they have and Sean McVay as their coach. that guy is one of the best coaches I've ever seen. Very, very, he team-oriented guy. So he always has his guys going out to play for him. But then you go back and look at the division of the Detroit Lions, like I just talked about with the AFC South. The NFC North has two additional teams that have the potential to play Detroit in the playoffs. And for them to beat those guys for a third time in 1 year, it's almost unheard of. So Detroit has some obstacles, man. The teams that are on top right now, the ones that are gunning for that number 1 seed, there's no easy road. I'll tell you that.
Can you imagine if we get Eagles, Vikings versus and we also get the Lions and Packers in the playoffs against each other in the divisional? Would it be divisional round? Right? Yeah, divisional round.
Lions, Packers, and then Eagles. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's possible.
Yeah,
that's definitely possible. Yeah,
that would be insane.
Yeah, be wild. Be a wild scene.
Yeah. So I agree. I tend to agree with you on the Eagles bit. I think the Eagles still have the team that can dethrone the Lions, just because Saquon is having an amazing year, right?
Yeah.
And he's the best running back in the league. Jalen Hurts he makes plays when the team needs plays to be made, right?
Yeah.
But he also throws interceptions during the game. So if it's a tight game, I think Jalen can still get it done. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll see.
One thing I wanted to I was thinking about the other day, because I saw this happen again. You know how they have the tush push, right?
Yeah.
So I mentioned to you, weeks ago, or the first time I saw it with Reggie Bush, they called that the Bush push.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
back in the day. It's just push. That's just it's pretty interesting. But yeah,
it was a few episodes ago. I think we actually shared that video of Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush getting into the end zone with USC against Notre Dame, I believe. But yeah, that was cool. All right. So, all right. Before we move on to the 49ers, final question. And answer this with just one team. Okay?
Okay.
Where will the Detroit Lions' Ben Johnson be coaching next year?
Dallas Cowboys.
Wow. Okay, so now I have to ask you, why not the Bears? Because everything is pointing towards the Bears. Why wouldn't he go there? I mean, he's got Caleb Williams, who's a generational quarterback, apparently.
The Chicago Bears have been generationally bad. Like, they just stink. So that's not.
I wouldn't say that. Brian Urlacher, even they had Rex Grossman. They went to the Super Bowl that year, so they haven't been terribly, bad. I would say, but they've had a few years where they're much mediocre and good.
I don't really have much to say on this. I just thought it was going to be like a one-word thing. So yeah.
Okay.
So Ben Johnson, Dallas Cowboys. That's my pick.
Okay. Cool. Fair enough. All right. Let's talk about the 49ers then.
Yeah. Let's talk about the 49ers, huh?
From favorites to now officially eliminated. That is insane. What a shit year the 49ers have had. I mean, injuries, play calling. Everything that could go wrong for the 49ers did.
Oh, yeah.
Where's the silver lining? Right? Obviously, you're going to get a potentially high draft pick, right? You're playing the Lions this week. right? And then you're finishing it out against the Arizona Cardinals. Most likely, you will get a top 10 pick, right? There is a good chance of that. So, yeah, what's your silver lining this year, if any?
This is a tough question. I guess I would just say, this is going to be the first time in the last handful of years the 49ers don't have to play the postseason.
Yep.
So that's an additional 5-6 weeks off to get their bodies right. Also get, their next year in order, what they're going to game plan for, what they're going to do in the draft, their player personnel now. They've always been retooling the last few years.
Yeah.
Now it's come to that point that they have some tough decisions to make, and I'm actually happy that they are going to have some weeks to actually work on this rather than having to game plan and think, go into the playoffs and possible, championship games and all that stuff. They know their task now. They know what they have to do. John Lynch, I'm talking to you, sir. The front office has a ton to do, and I think having a couple extra weeks here to talk to their free agents, talk to their guys, make some moves, is going to be really beneficial for them.
Yeah.
And also, it's going to light a fire under their ass, knowing that they had, the second best odds to win the Super Bowl this year, and now they have, the second best odds outside of the top 10 to get a top 10 pick. Like it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, it's going to really show them like, hey, like the team this year, the way that it was built for a championship. They need to get a new training staff in there. The amount of injuries that they had to their guys is just unbelievable. The offensive line needs a lot of work. So they're going to have ample amount of time to get this done. So, negotiations with their guys, because it's hard to negotiate with your players when they're preparing for games, playoff games, championship games, Super Bowl games, right?
Yeah.
Now nobody's doing that. They're going to be flying to Cabo, going to Cancun, Europe, wherever they're going to be going.
Yeah.
Their mind is going to be open. You're going to be able to talk to them and say, "Hey, what do you want to do? Let's knock this thing out. We want before the new league year starts. We want to have this thing in place. We want to hit the ground running." And that's my silver lining.
Yeah. I know you're talking about Brock. You're talking about Dre Greenlaw. You're talking about Noah Hufanga, right? Three of the big key free agents for the 49ers in the offseason. Yeah. Brock has been really interesting these last couple of games. The Miami game, too. Had a chance to win it, right? Drive the team down the field, get it done.
Yeah.
Didn't, right? He threw an interception late. And, we can go back and look at the tape. I've seen it. Offensive line issues, right? He got hit, said he was going to throw. It was a layered throw he was trying to make. I thought it was actually going to Juwan Jennings. He was actually throwing a Pearsall. So, I mean, things happen. Now, Brock is losing games, right? How much is this going to affect his contract negotiations?
I think it'll have somewhat of an effect, but I think it'll be on Brock Purdy himself. I don't think, I think the negotiating power, he's still going to have it because out of the quarterbacks that, we've showcased this year, he's head and shoulders above them. That being said, they need to invest heavily in a backup quarterback.
I mean, they're going to have options. They're going to have Kirk Cousins possibly as an option, right? So
backup quarterbacks, that is one of the most important jobs in the NFL that's overlooked.
Absolutely.
Look at the Minnesota Vikings right now.
Yeah.
So, but I think Brock's going to understand, hey, there's certain guys that need to get taken care of, similar to myself. Yes, I'm the one that's going to get paid the highest. He doesn't look like the guy that was in Seattle, Russell Wilson, or, Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott. He doesn't give me that vibe of a quarterback. He gives me a different type of vibe, a team-friendly type of vibe. Not like he's going to take $5 million a year or something like that.
Yeah.
But instead of taking $60 million a year off the cap, maybe he'll take 45, maybe he'll take 50. Maybe they'll be able to structure the deal, put capital in, early in the first couple of years, less in the next couple of years, circumvent the way they want to do it. He's a smart guy. Look, he's a smart guy. He was picked last in the draft. He understands that he was chosen for a reason by the 49ers, and that last pick means something. Playing in San Francisco for the 49ers means something to him and his family. I think he's going to do everything he can to continue to be the 49ers quarterback. Yes, money is going to play a part. Money is a part of all of our lives. But I think when push comes to shove, Brock Purdy, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, and the York family will get this thing done.
Okay, let's say hypothetically he comes to the table and says, I want Dak Prescott money. What do you do if you're John Lynch?
You just show him the track record. Just show him what the Dallas Cowboys have when they have given
and he still says no.
That deal.
You present him with all that information, all the data points. He still says no. What do you do then? You still have, Sam Darnold out there. He's a free agent.
Oh, then you have quarterback options. You have quarterback options.
Yeah.
It's not a cut and dry thing, man. I mean, this is a business at the end of the day. If you don't think this guy's worth that money, you're not going to pay him.
I'm asking you, Bishan, do you think he's worth Dak Prescott money?
I think Dak Prescott's contract is atrocious. I don't think anybody's worth that type of money. I don't even think Patrick Mahomes is worth that money. I don't think Josh Allen's worth that money. Yes, these guys should be the highest paid players on their teams for sure. But the way that the caps are set up, when these guys are making 20% of their cap, it doesn't make any sense. You're not building a team with one quarterback. Your offensive line needs it. Your defensive line needs it. You need to have great linebackers, running backs, all of this. When you take all of your money, your capital, and you put it into one person.
Yeah. I mean, it's arguably the most important position in the.
But you're doing a disservice. You're doing a disservice to your other players, your other team.
Sure.
The most successful teams that we've seen in years past. The one that comes to mind is the New England Patriots. Tom Brady. Tom Brady wasn't the highest paid quarterback in the NFL when they were a dynasty.
Okay. Yeah.
If you want to win, you gotta be part of a team.
Yeah.
I don't see the Cowboys becoming world beaters anytime soon. Their contracts, the way that Jera has done their contracts is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Let's hope that Brock Purdy does take a team-friendly deal and gets done sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's other pieces on the team that need to be, filled, fixed.
Of course.
The offensive line, it's something that the 49ers have said that they can find positional players, right? Good players later on in the draft, right? Does that strategy now need to change? Do they need to look early in the draft?
They picked Brock Purdy with the last pick in the draft.
No, I'm talking about the offensive line.
They need to invest heavily earlier draft picks in the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a given. They need to get away from all of these. The the 49ers are good at, picking later draft picks. Yes, we all know that they're not great at picking early in the draft.
Yeah.
They need to hit a home run here. It's coming down to that point. John Lynch is the GM that, when you've whiffed so many times with that first round pick, if you can't do that, if you can't make that choice, trade down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trade down.
Yep.
Trade down. Get more draft picks and use the Sam Presti rule. Okay, the Oklahoma City Thunder GM. The guy's like 15 first round picks in the next like 2 years. So, get more and more draft picks, because there's guys that are behind you that want to trade up, that know what they want. If you don't know what you want, if you think, hey, we need more draft picks, we need more guys, and I think we could do better in later rounds. Les Snead is one of those guys for the Los Angeles Rams. He does that all the time. He's always wheeling and dealing. So
they've paid some pretty fat contracts. They have a lot.
But I'm talking about the guys that they've drafted. They've drafted well.
They've drafted
well. Yeah. So do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a huge 49ers fan, but if I see John Lynch out there with the 10th or 11th pick, and he trades down, he gets a couple second round picks, gets a first round pick, or gets a future first and a couple of seconds, does things like that, I know he's thinking outside the box. He's thinking about the future of the 49ers. He's not just thinking about the now.
Yeah. I mean, last year's draft arguably is going to come down as one of the best drafts they've had. Renard Green, Pooney. I mean, jury's still out on the two receivers, right? So, and it's going to be
Cohen.
Yeah, it'll be Cohen. It'll be interesting to see how they do. I mean, that's a good approach. I mean, top 10. If they have a top 10 pick, definitely trade down, right? If you can, unless you obviously have identified if you get a star, that dreams to you, right? If
you're able to take the best available player, he's great. Yeah, 100%.
But again, we're talking about offensive line. They just always trade. They always get late round picks, and I think at this point, you have a top 10 pick, you could potentially get a bookend tackle, right? I mean, you got Trent Williams, who's probably going to play another 2 years, right? If we're lucky, right? And but you can get someone that can, kind of be groomed by Trent, right? Can learn under Trent. So we'll see. It's going to be really interesting. Jake Brendel needs to go. Obviously, you're right. I mean, centers. Your line is as good as your center is, right? I think that I read that line somewhere that hits home. He's not a good player. He probably shouldn't even be a backup. Maybe a practice squad guy, but he's not a good player. The 49ers need to move on ASAP. Colton McKivitz, Aaron Banks. So left guard, center, and right tackle should be different players next year. And if they're not, 49ers fans are not going to be happy.
Yeah. There's definitely some room for improvement. And when you have the type of offensive scheme the 49ers have, the center is one of the most vital positions on the field. Kyle Shanahan had Alex Mack as his center in Atlanta, and he's like almost a Hall of Famer at the center position. But it just changes the way that you call plays, the way that your center is the quarterback of your line, right? He's calling things out. He sees coverages similar to your quarterback. They have to be in sync with each other there. So I think they need to go younger there for one, and more athletic as well. And then the right tackle. The right tackle is a very, very important position for the 49ers because these guys swing, they run, and they're getting out a lot. And the way that Brock Purdy plays his game, he can scramble, which, he's a little energizer bunny out there. He gets in and out. You need to have guys that are athletic and agile that can support that. Yeah. So for sure.
Yeah.
All right. What do we got?
Top 3 things you want to see next year from the 49ers. We'll finish with this. Like, is there what changes do you want to see from coaching, from the players? What do you want to see take effect?
So I'm going to start with the defense here. I think they need to have their third coaching change at defensive coordinator in 3 years.
Yeah,
I think that's number one. They need to get someone in there that can command that defense.
Yeah,
and that defense has some guys that if they keep on the way that they're playing, they could be future Hall of Famers for sure. Hands down. So they need somebody that can command a defense. There's certain contracts that they've given out in years past that haven't panned out on some on the defensive line. Once the guaranteed money is gone, you need to move on.
Right.
And just getting over to the offensive side, and we already talked about the offensive line. They really need to figure out what they're going to do with their wide receiver room, because they're all over the place right now. They have one guy who's a former all-pro type of player with IU going down with an injury. And that was a very gruesome one, so it's going to take him time to get back. Debo is done with his guaranteed money, but he's got a lot of miles on him. Jawan Jennings has a team-friendly contract. He's not going anywhere. Ricky Pearsall is in the first year, very up-and-down year, coming off of just a crazy, crazy story about getting shot in the chest, but living and playing this season. There's a ton of things that they need to work on in the wide receiver room.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with pretty much all of those. I think the only thing that I will add to that is Shanahan. He needs to change. He needs to evolve. The teams in the NFL, they learn fast. The defensive coordinators learn fast. Chiefs created the blueprint to Shanahan's offense. They figured it out. It's man coverage. His receivers can't beat it. He needs to figure out how they can. Things need to change this offseason. He needs to evolve. That's all I will say, right?
Yeah.
We'll wrap things up here. So
cool.
We'll just do pick 'em before we close things off, right? So tonight we got the Seahawks at Bears.
Okay. Seahawks at Bears. I think the Seahawks will take this one. They need to keep pace with Los Angeles Rams in the division. And the Bears are the Bears.
I mean, Bears are the Bears, but you probably have heard this stat. Caleb Williams has not thrown an interception in a very long time. He has, and the thing is like 19 touchdowns to like one interception or something crazy. I might be wrong with that stat, but he has not thrown very many interceptions. So I'm gonna actually take the Bears. I think the Seahawks are probably gonna lose a heartbreaker here, and I think the Bears are gonna steal one. Let's see, Broncos at Bengals.
Broncos-Bengals. This is going to be a really interesting game to watch. Bengals last few weeks have been playing really well, especially their defense.
Yeah.
The Broncos have had a strong defense all season long, but going into Cincinnati and playing that team that's been playing so well, I think Cincinnati is going to play spoiler in this one, and they're going to win.
Yeah, I agree. I think Joe Burrow is going to get it done. Joe Burrow and company. Packers at Vikings. Who you got?
Game of the week right here, man. Game of the week. This one is just going to be it's going to be a long game. It's going to be one of those games that both teams are going to go back and forth. Packers are, they've been playing really well lately. Vikings have just done amazing things this year.
Yeah.
But because the Packers still have a couple of games to win to catch up to the Vikings, I think I'm going to go with the Pack on this one.
Cool. Yeah. I think Packers as well. I think Jordan Love's going to have a good game. He had 3 interceptions when they met in Lambeau several weeks back, and I think he's gonna close out well. I think Darnold's going to cough up some interceptions. So the Packers get it done. Falcons at Commanders. Another big one. Playoff team.
Yeah. So Falcons need to win this game in order to keep control of their division lead.
2 rookie quarterbacks.
2 rookie quarterbacks. Penix played a really good game in his first matchup. But Jaden Daniels just looks like the rookie of the year. Just looks like he's just doing it, especially with that big win last week that they got. I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders on this one for sure.
Yeah, same. I think the Commanders get it done. Jaden Daniels, special quarterback, best quarterback in that draft class, no doubt.
Yeah.
The Lions at 49ers. Yeah, go for it. Yes.
I think the Lions are going to try and embarrass the 49ers in this one, especially with the way that they lost last year and its championship.
Great game. I thoroughly enjoyed that game.
Yeah, I think Eminem enjoyed that game too.
Yeah.
But
you got the Lions?
Lions are winning this one.
Yeah. I agree. I think the Lions are going to get this one. Niners will get one step closer to getting its top 10 pick, right? All right, cool. That concludes episode 9.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, just wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. Thank you guys so much for watching, subscribing, liking, blasting this out to, your friends and family. This thing has just been amazing. We've enjoyed it so much so far. Hopefully you guys have as well. Hope you guys are safe this week with your families. If we don't see you at the end of this year, we will see you at the beginning of next. Again, thank you all so much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, just make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on all social media platforms, right? X, Instagram, TikTok, and we are hopefully we shoot next week too. So yeah. Thanks everyone, and enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy watching more football.
See you guys. Take care.
See ya.
See ya.